The chains were cold against her skin, stood on the metal platform and looked at the crowd below. Hundreds of aliens filled the auction hall. They were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. Their yellow eyes looked at her like she was an animal for sale. She was an animal for sale. They had captured her ship 3 weeks ago. They killed most of her crew. They kept the ones they thought were valuable. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. They had never seen one before. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans were soft. They thought humans would make good slaves. Kept her face calm. She did not show fear. She did not show anger. She showed nothing. Her training had taught her this. Never let the enemy see what you are thinking. Never let them know what you are planning. The auction master spoke in a loud voice. He used the common language that all species understood. This creature comes from a small planet called Earth. It is located in the outer arm of the galaxy. The humans there have only been traveling in space for 200 years. They are young. They are weak. They are easy to control. The crowd made sounds of interest. Some of them laughed. A young species, a weak species, perfect for labor, perfect for service, perfect for whatever they wanted. Counted the guards in the room. There were 12 of them. They stood near the walls with weapons in their hands. She counted the exits. There were 4 doors, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. She counted the steps from her platform to the nearest door, 23 steps, maybe 24. The auction master continued. This female is healthy. She is strong for her kind. She can work in mines. She can work in factories. She can serve in houses. She is young enough to last many years. In the front row raised one of his 4 hands. How do we know she will not try to escape? I have heard that humans can be difficult. The auction master smiled. His teeth were sharp and black. Humans are small, they are slow, they cannot fight. Look at her. She has no claws, she has no fangs. She has thin skin that tears easily. What can she do against a warrior? The crowd laughed again, did not react. She kept her eyes forward. She kept her breathing slow and steady. Inside her mind she was counting seconds, counting minutes, counting the time until her crew would come. They would come. She knew they would. This was the plan. She was the bait. She was the one who got captured on purpose. She was the one who let them take her to this station. Somewhere in this crowd her was watching. He was dressed like a merchant. He was waiting for the right moment. The auction master called for bids. Numbers flew through the air. They shouted over each other. They wanted her. They all wanted to own a human. It was rare. It was special. It would make them look important. Then a voice cut through the noise. It was deep and cold. I will pay double the highest bid. The crowd went silent. Everyone turned to look. A walked forward from the back of the hall. He was bigger than the others. His gray skin was marked with scars. He wore the black uniform of a military commander. His yellow eyes burned with something dark and hungry. Commander had heard about him. He was famous in this sector. He had conquered 12 planets. He had killed thousands of beings. He enjoyed pain. He enjoyed suffering. He enjoyed breaking things that were weaker than him. The auction master bowed low. Commander, you honor us with your presence. Did not look at the auction master. He looked only at. He walked toward the platform. The crowd moved away from him like water moving away from a stone. Nobody wanted to stand in his path. He stopped at the edge of the platform. He was 2 heads taller than. His 4 arms hung at his sides. His claws were long and sharp. He could kill her with 1 hand. He could tear her apart without effort. A human, he said. His voice was like gravel. I have wanted one for a long time. They say humans break easily. They say humans scream beautifully. Looked up at him. She did not blink. She did not look away. She met his yellow eyes with her brown ones. They say many things, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. Tilted his head. He seemed surprised that she could speak. He seemed surprised that she was not crying. He seemed surprised that she was not begging for mercy. You have courage, he said. I like that. It will make breaking you more enjoyable." He stepped onto the platform. The chains clinked as shifted her weight. She moved her feet slightly. She positioned her body in a way that looked natural but was not. It was a fighting stance, a hidden fighting stance, something the would not recognize. Reached out with one of his hands, his claws wrapped around her wrist. His grip was strong. It was meant to hurt. It was meant to show her who was in control. "You belong to me now," he said. "You will learn to obey. You will learn to serve. You will learn what happens to those who resist." The crowd watched in silence. They expected her to cry. They expected her to beg. They expected her to collapse under the power of the great commander. Smiled. It was a small smile, a quiet smile, a dangerous smile. "Actually," she said, "I think you have that backward." She moved. What happened next took less than 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds changed everything the thought they knew about humans. Those 2 seconds changed everything they thought they knew about weakness. Those 2 seconds showed them a truth that would spread across the galaxy like fire. Humans were not weak. Humans were not soft. Humans were something far more terrifying. And Commander was about to learn this the hard way. Twisted her wrist in Side's grip. It was a simple movement, a small movement, but it was a movement that no had ever seen before. On Earth, humans learned to fight from the moment they could walk. They learned from their parents. They learned in schools. They learned on playgrounds and in gyms and on streets. Fighting was part of being human. It was in their blood. It was in their bones. It was in their history. They did not know this. They thought humans were peaceful. They thought humans were civilized. They thought humans had evolved past violence. They were very wrong. Twist turned into a lock. Her fingers found the weak points in his wrist. Every creature had weak points. Every creature had places where the bones were thin, where the nerves were close to the surface, where a small amount of pressure could cause a large amount of pain. His eyes went wide. He felt something he had not felt in years. He felt pain, real pain, the kind of pain that made his body freeze, the kind of pain that stopped his thoughts, the kind of pain that made him forget he was a powerful commander with 4 arms and sharp claws. Did not stop, she could not stop. If she stopped, he would recover. If she stopped, he would kill her. If she stopped, everything would fail. She pulled his arm forward. She stepped to the side. She used his own weight against him. It was an old technique. Humans had used it for thousands of years. They called it many names in many languages, but the idea was always the same. Use the enemy's strength as a weapon. Turn their power into their weakness. Stumbled, his body moved in a direction he did not expect. His feet could not keep up with the sudden change. He was falling. The great commander was falling. Helped him fall faster. She brought her elbow down on his shoulder. The joint made a sound like wood breaking. The bones separated from their proper place. The arm went limp and useless. Opened his mouth to scream, but before the sound could leave his throat, moved again. She grabbed his head. She pulled it down. She brought her knee up. The impact was hard and fast. The scream turned into a grunt. His body bent in half. His legs lost their strength. He dropped to his knees on the metal platform. 2 seconds. That was all it took. 2 seconds to turn the most feared commander in the sector into a kneeling, broken thing. The auction hall was silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. They all stared at the impossible scene before them. A human, a small, soft, weak human, standing over a warrior who was on his knees, a warrior who was in pain, a warrior who had been defeated without a single weapon. Still held his dislocated arm, she twisted it slightly, groaned. His 3 good arms tried to reach for her, but every time he moved, she twisted more. The pain kept him frozen. The pain kept him obedient. "Do not move," she said. Her voice was calm, almost friendly. "If you move, I will break more things. Do you understand?" Could not speak. He could only nod. His yellow eyes were filled with something new, something he had never felt before. Fear, real fear, the kind of fear that his victims always showed him, the kind of fear he had enjoyed seeing in others. Now he understood that fear. Now he knew what it felt like. The guards near the walls raised their weapons. They pointed them at, but they did not fire. They could not fire. If they fired, they might hit their commander. If they killed their commander, they would be executed. It was a difficult choice. Had planned for this. She had planned for everything. "Tell them to lower their weapons," she said to. "Tell them now." Hesitated. His pride fought against his pain. He was a commander. He could not take orders from a slave. He could not show weakness in front of his people. Twisted his arm again. She found a nerve cluster and pressed. The pain was worse than anything had ever felt, worse than battle wounds, worse than torture, worse than death. "Lower your weapons," gasped. "Lower them now." The guards hesitated. They looked at each other. They did not know what to do. This had never happened before. A prisoner defeating a commander. A slave giving orders. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. But the pain in his voice was real. The defeat in his eyes was real. The situation was real. Slowly, one by one, the guards lowered their weapons. Nodded. Good. Everything was going according to plan. But she was not finished. She was only getting started. She looked out at the crowd. They stared back at her with wide eyes and open mouths. They were afraid. They were confused. They did not understand what they were seeing. "You think humans are weak," she said. Her voice carried across the silent hall. "You think we are easy to break. You think we are good for nothing but labor and service." She paused. She let her words sink in. "You are wrong." In the crowd, a figure moved. He was still dressed as a merchant. He was still pretending to be one of them. But his hand was moving toward a device hidden in his clothes. A small device. A communication device. Saw him, she gave a tiny nod, almost invisible, but understood. It was time for the next part of the plan. "Humans come from a world that tried to kill us every day," continued. "Our planet had earthquakes that swallowed cities. It had storms that destroyed mountains. It had predators that hunted us for millions of years. And we survived. We survived everything." She looked down at him. He was still on his knees. He was still in pain. He was listening to every word. "We did not survive by being weak," she said. "We survived by being stronger than everything that tried to destroy us. We survived by being smarter. We survived by being more dangerous." The crowd was completely silent, not a single sound, not a single movement. They were all frozen by her words, frozen by her presence, frozen by the truth they were finally beginning to understand. "You made a mistake," said. "You captured the wrong human. You brought me to the wrong place. You put me in chains and thought you were safe." She smiled again, that dangerous smile. "You were never safe. From the moment you took me, you were already defeated. You just did not know it yet." In the crowd pressed a button on his hidden device. A signal went out. It traveled through the station's walls. It traveled through space. It reached a ship that was waiting in the darkness. A ship that had been hiding. A ship that was full of humans who were very, very angry. The rescue was about to begin. But they did not know this yet. They only knew that everything they believed was wrong. They only knew that the small, soft creature on the platform was something they had never seen before. They only knew fear. And the fear was just beginning. The auction hall remained frozen. Nobody dared to move. Nobody dared to speak. The guards stood with their weapons lowered. The crowd stood with their eyes wide. Commander remained on his knees, his arm twisted at an angle that should not be possible, and stood above them all like a queen on a throne. One of the in the crowd finally found his voice. He was an older one with gray patches on his skin. His voice shook when he spoke. "How?" he asked. "How is this possible? Humans are weak. Our scientists have studied your kind. Your muscles are thin. Your bones are fragile. Your bodies cannot fight against ours." Looked at him. She tilted her head slightly like she was thinking about his question. Then she laughed. It was a quiet laugh, a knowing laugh, a laugh that made everyone in the room feel cold. "Your scientists studied humans in space," she said. "They studied humans who had lived on ships and stations for months, maybe years. They studied humans who had adapted to low-gravity environments." She paused. She looked around the room. She wanted everyone to hear what she was about to say. "They never studied humans on Earth." They looked confused. They did not understand. What difference did it make? A human was a human, weak was weak. Decided to explain. She had time. The signal had been sent. Help was coming. She just needed to keep them confused and afraid until then. "Earth is different from your worlds," she said. "Its gravity is 3 times stronger than most planets, 3 times heavier. Do you understand what that means?" The older's eyes widened. He understood. He was beginning to understand. "Every day on Earth our bodies fight against that gravity," continued. "From the moment we are born until the moment we die, we carry that weight. We walk with it. We run with it. We live with it." She lifted her free hand. She made a fist. "Our bones grow dense to support that weight. Our muscles grow strong to move against it. Our hearts pump harder to push blood through our bodies. We become strong because we have no choice. We become strong because our planet demands it." Groaned on the floor. The pain in his shoulder was spreading. His whole arm felt like fire, but he was listening. He was learning something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "When humans leave Earth and go into space," said, "we feel light. We feel fast. The gravity on your ships and stations is nothing to us. It is like walking through water after carrying rocks for years. It is like flying after being chained to the ground." She looked down at. "You thought I was weak because I looked small. You thought I was harmless because I had no claws or fangs. But I have something better than claws. I have bones that do not break easily. I have muscles that are 3 times stronger than they need to be in this gravity. I have reflexes that were built to survive a world that kills the slow." The crowd was starting to understand. Their faces showed it. Horror was replacing confusion. Fear was replacing doubt. "And there is more," said, "much more." She twisted his arm slightly, not enough to cause more damage, just enough to remind him who was in control. "Earth did not just make us strong, it made us dangerous. Our world was filled with predators, animals that wanted to eat us, animals with teeth and claws much bigger than yours. We had to fight them. We had to learn how to survive against creatures that were faster and stronger." She smiled that dangerous smile again. "We learned very well." The older stepped back. His legs were shaking. "If this is true," he said, "then why have we never heard of it? Why did your kind not warn us?" "Why would we warn you?" asked. "The galaxy looked at humans and saw weak creatures from a small planet. The galaxy decided we were not worth conquering. They left us alone because they thought we had nothing to offer, nothing to threaten them with." Her voice grew cold. "We let them believe that. We encouraged it. For 200 years, we have traveled through space pretending to be harmless, pretending to be peaceful, pretending to be exactly what everyone thought we were." She paused. "We were hiding, we were watching, we were learning about all of you, learning your weaknesses, learning your strengths, learning how to beat you if we ever needed to." The truth hit the crowd like a physical blow. Humans were not weak victims who had stumbled into the galaxy. Humans were predators wearing the masks of prey. They had been playing a game that nobody else knew about. And the game was finally being revealed. "I was not captured by accident," said. "I let your ships take me. I let them bring me to this station. I wanted to be here. I needed to be here." Commander's voice came out in a broken whisper. "Why? What do you want?" Looked down at him. For a moment something like pity crossed her face, but it disappeared quickly. "You have been taking ships," she said. "Human ships, trading vessels, science expeditions, small targets that nobody would miss. You have been taking our people and selling them as slaves." She let that sink in. "Did you think we would not notice? Did you think we would not care? Did you think we would let you continue?" His face went pale. The color drained from his gray skin. He remembered all the humans he had captured, all the humans he had sold, all the humans he had broken for his own entertainment. They had seemed so weak, so easy, so worthless. Now he realized his mistake. "We tracked every ship you took," said. "We followed every sail. We found every human you stole from us, and now we are taking them back." The station shook. It was a small tremor, a vibration that passed through the floor and walls. Some of them looked around nervously. They did not know what it was. Knew she had been waiting for it. "That," she said, "is my ship arriving. That is my crew coming to finish what I started." She pulled up from his knees. He cried out in pain as his dislocated shoulder moved. She turned him around so he was facing the main door of the auction hall. "Your station's shields are down," she said. "Your communication systems are blocked. Your guards are confused and scared. And right now, 200 very angry humans are about to walk through those doors." The main doors exploded inward. Light and smoke filled the entrance. Through the smoke came figures in black armor, human figures. They moved fast and silent like ghosts made of shadow. At the front of the group was a woman with short hair and cold eyes. She carried a weapon that hummed with energy. She surveyed the room in one quick glance. Then she saw. "Lieutenant Park," the woman said, "I see you have been busy." Smiled. "Captain, I am glad you could make it." Looked at Commander. He was hanging in his grip like a broken puppet. His eyes were filled with terror. His body was shaking. "This is the one who has been taking our people?" asked. "Yes," said. "He thought humans were weak. I have been explaining his mistake." Nodded slowly. "Then let us continue the lesson." The human soldiers spread out across the auction hall. They did not resist. They could not resist. They were too afraid, too confused, too overwhelmed by the truth that had just destroyed everything they believed. Humans were not weak. Humans were not prey. Humans were the most dangerous thing the galaxy had ever seen. And the galaxy was about to learn this lesson in full. Captain walked through the auction hall like she owned it. Her soldiers moved around her in perfect formation. They did not speak. They did not need to. They had trained together for years. They knew what to do without words. They watched them with wide, terrified eyes. These humans moved differently from any creatures they had seen before. They were fast but controlled. They were dangerous but calm. They carried their weapons like extensions of their bodies. Appeared from the crowd. He had removed his merchant disguise. Under it, he wore the same black armor as the other soldiers. He walked to and nodded. "Good work," he said quietly. "The signal reached us perfectly. We had the station systems down before they even knew we were here." Nodded back. Her grip on Commander had not loosened. He was still her prisoner. He would remain her prisoner until this was over. Captain stopped in front of the main platform. She looked up at the auction master who was still standing there, frozen in fear. His sharp black teeth chattered. His hands trembled. "You sell people here," said. It was not a question, it was a statement, a judgment. The auction master tried to speak. His voice came out in broken pieces. We, it is legal here. The Empire allows." "I do not care what the Empire allows," said. Her voice was cold as ice. "You have sold human beings, our people, our families, our friends." She raised her weapon. The auction master fell to his knees. "Please," he begged. "I did not know, I did not understand. They told me humans were." Weak finished for him. A lesser species, animals to be bought and sold. The auction master nodded frantically. Tears streamed down his alien face. Looked at him for a long moment. Then she lowered her weapon. The auction master nearly collapsed with relief. "You are lucky," said. "We are not here to kill. We are here to take back what is ours, and to send a message." She turned to her soldiers. "Find the holding cells. Free every human prisoner on this station. Search the records for information about where other humans have been sold." The soldiers moved immediately. They split into groups and headed for different exits. The crowd pressed themselves against the walls, trying to stay out of the way. Pulled Commander down from the platform. He stumbled and nearly fell. His legs could barely hold him. The pain from his shoulder was making him weak. The fear was making him weaker. "Where are the humans you took?" asked him. "Tell me now." His voice was barely a whisper. "The lower levels, Section 7, there are 43 of them." "Looked at," he nodded and spoke into a device on his wrist. More soldiers moved to follow his directions. Captain approached and she studied the commander with eyes that showed no mercy. This was the creature who had caused so much suffering. This was the creature who had thought humans were toys to be broken. "You are Commander," said. "We have heard much about you." Tried to stand. Even now, even broken and defeated, some part of him wanted to show strength. "You cannot do this," he said. His voice shook, but he kept talking. "The Empire will not allow this. They will hunt you down. They will destroy your entire species." Laughed. It was not a warm laugh. It was a sound that made everyone in the room feel afraid. "The Empire," she said. "Let me tell you about the Empire." She stepped closer too. They were almost face to face now. She was shorter than him, but somehow she seemed larger. Somehow she filled the space around her with power. "The Empire has 112 warships in this sector. We have counted them. We know where each one is stationed. We know their patrol routes. We know their weapon systems. We know their weaknesses." His face went pale again. "Earth has been building ships for 50 years, continued. "Not the trading vessels you see in open space. Not the science ships that look harmless and slow. Real ships, warships, hidden in places you would never think to look." She smiled. It was the same dangerous smile that had shown earlier, the same smile that promised pain. "We have 347 warships in this sector alone. Each one is faster than your best vessel. Each one carries weapons you have never seen before. Each one is crewed by humans who have been training for this moment their entire lives." The crowd made sounds of disbelief. Some of them shouted that it was impossible. Some of them called her a liar. But their voices were weak. Their confidence was shattered. "You do not believe me," said. "That is fine. You will believe soon enough." She spoke into her communication device. "Show them." For a moment nothing happened. Then the stations flickered to life. They were everywhere, on walls, on pillars, floating in the air. They all showed the same image. Space, the dark void outside the station, filled with stars and silence. Then the silence ended. Ships appeared, one after another. They from hiding spots that should have been impossible. They emerged from places where nothing should have been able to hide. They filled until there was more metal than stars. Human ships, hundreds of them, thousands of them, an armada that stretched across the void like a wave of death. The auction hall screamed. Some of them fainted, some of them tried to run, but there was nowhere to run. The exits were blocked by human soldiers. Stared at the screens. His mouth hung open. His eyes could not process what they were seeing. This was not possible. This could not be real. Humans were weak. Humans were nothing. Humans could not have this kind of power. But the ships were real. The armada was real. The threat was real. "This is not an invasion," said. Her voice cut through the panic like a blade. "This is a rescue mission. We are here for our people, nothing more, nothing less." She looked at. "But make no mistake. If any tries to stop us, we will respond with force. If any ship fires on us, we will fire back. If your empire declares war on humanity." She paused. She let the silence stretch. "Then we will show you what war really means." The station shook again. More ships were arriving. More power was gathering outside these walls. The message was clear. Humanity had been hiding. Humanity had been waiting. Humanity was done pretending. In the crowd, the older who had spoken earlier fell to his knees, not from fear, from something deeper, from the realization that everything he had believed was wrong. "What are you?" he whispered. Heard him, she turned to look at him. Her face was calm, her eyes were steady. "We are human," she said simply, "and we protect our own." That was all, that was enough. The rescue continued, and the galaxy would never be the same. The rescue took 3 hours. 3 hours to find every human prisoner on the station. 3 hours to search every cell, every room, every hidden corner. 3 hours to bring them all to safety. 43 humans had been held in the lower levels. 27 more were found in private quarters, owned by wealthy who had bought them as personal servants. 11 others were discovered in a medical facility where scientists had been studying them, studying what made humans different, what made them special. They had been so close to learning the truth. Now they would never get the chance. Watched as the last group of freed humans walked toward the shuttle bay. They were thin and tired. Some of them had been prisoners for months. Some had given up hope. But now they walked with their heads held high. Now they knew they had not been forgotten. Captain stood beside her. They watched together in silence. "They will need time to heal," said quietly. Nodded, "They will have it, all the time they need." And then looked at her captain. "Then they will have a choice. Some will go home, some will join us, some will want revenge." His eyes darkened. "Can you blame them?" "No," said, "I cannot." Commander was still nearby. He had been moved to a corner of the auction hall, guarded by 4 human soldiers. His shoulder had been roughly bandaged but not properly treated. The pain kept him weak and compliant. He watched everything with hollow eyes. He watched his empire's shame parade before him. He watched creatures he had thought were nothing walk free while he remained chained. Not with metal chains, with something worse, with the knowledge of his failure, with the understanding of his mistake. Approached him one final time. The guard stepped aside to let her pass. She stood in front of him and looked down at the creature who had thought he could break her. "Your empire will hear about this," she said. Did not respond. His eyes stared at nothing. "They will hear about how one human woman defeated their greatest commander. They will hear about how an army appeared from nowhere. They will hear about how everything they believed was a lie." Still nothing, was broken in ways that went beyond his shoulder. "But that is not the worst part," said. She crouched down so she was at his level, so he had to look at her. "The worst part is the question they will ask, the question everyone will ask." She leaned closer. "If humans were hiding this much power, what else are they hiding? If humans could build this army in secret, what other secrets do they have? If humans have been pretending to be weak this whole time, how strong are they really?" His eyes finally focused. He looked at her with something that might have been understanding, or fear, or both. "They will never know," said. "They will spend years wondering. They will spend decades guessing. They will look at every human they meet and wonder what that human is hiding. What power lies behind those soft eyes and small bodies?" She stood up. "That fear will spread. It will grow. It will become part of how the galaxy sees us, and that fear will protect us better than any weapon ever could." She turned and walked away. She did not look back. She did not need to. Commander was no longer important. He was just a broken creature who had learned a lesson too late. The shuttles were loading. Human soldiers were boarding in organized groups. The freed prisoners were already on their way to the main ship, where doctors and counselors waited to help them. Fell into step beside. "The data cores are secured," he said. "We have records of every human who was sold through this station. Names, locations, buyers, everything." Nodded. "Good. We will need it for the next missions." There will be many next missions. Yes, there will. They reached the shuttle bay. Captain was already there, giving final orders to her team. The operation was almost complete. In a few minutes, they would leave this station behind. But first, there was one more thing to do. Walk to a communication terminal. She activated a channel that would broadcast to every screen on the station. Every would hear what she was about to say. "People of the station," she began. Her voice was calm and clear. "What happened here today was not an act of war. It was an act of rescue. We came for our people and we found them. We are leaving now." She paused. The silence stretched across the station. "But remember this moment. Remember what you saw. Remember what you learned. Humans are not what you thought we were. We never were." Her voice grew harder. "We have no desire for war. We have no desire for conquest. We want only to live in peace. But peace requires respect. Peace requires understanding. Peace requires that you never again try to take what is ours." She looked directly into the camera. Her eyes seemed to reach through the screen and grab every watching. "Touch our people again and we will return, not with hundreds of ships, with thousands, not to rescue, to respond. Do you understand?" No answer came. None was needed. "Good," said, "then we are done here." She ended the transmission. The last humans boarded the shuttles. The bay doors opened to reveal the void of space beyond. The massive human armada waited outside, its ships gleaming in the light of distant stars. Took one last look at the auction hall, at the platform where she had stood in chains, at the place where Commander had seized her wrist and thought he had won. He had grabbed her wrist and found himself kneeling before he could scream. That moment would become a legend. It would spread across the galaxy. Species would tell it to each other in whispers. They would wonder if it was true. They would fear that it was. And humans would let them wonder. Because fear was a weapon that never ran out. Fear was a shield that never broke. Fear would keep humanity safe while they continued to grow, continued to spread, continued to become something the galaxy had never imagined. The shuttle lifted off. Through the window, watched the station grow smaller. She watched the ships that floated nearby, too afraid to move. She watched the human armada that surrounded them all. Sat down beside her. "Do you think they will listen? Do you think they will stop taking our people?" Thought about it for a moment. Some will, the smart ones, the ones who understand what they saw today. And the others? His eyes went cold. The others will learn the hard way, like Commander learned, like all enemies of humanity eventually learn. Nodded slowly. He had seen what could do. He had seen her take down a creature twice her size with nothing but her hands. He had seen the fear in the eyes of those who thought they were powerful. He understood. The shuttle docked with the main ship. The freed humans were welcomed aboard with cheers and tears. Families were reunited. Friends embraced. Hope was restored. And somewhere in the depths of space, a broken commander knelt on a metal floor and wondered how everything had gone so wrong. He had reached out to grab a small, weak creature. He had found himself facing something far more dangerous than any monster. He had found himself facing a human. And humans, as the galaxy was learning, were never what they appeared to be. They were something far, far worse. They were survivors. They were fighters. They were protectors of their own. And now the galaxy knew it. Now everyone knew it. Humanity had stopped hiding. And the universe would never be safe again. Not for those who threatened human lives. Not ever again.